let's get down to business. Top 5 quarterbacks coming through next year's draft.
It's an interesting week to talk about it because the first 3 of these 5 have just come off their toughest game of the season. I'll start with Joe Burrow of LSU. No quarterback has seen his draft stock rise as much as Burrow. He's possibly the Heisman front runner now, but it's a very close race. Transferred from Ohio State, started at LSU last season. His completion percentage last year was less than 58%, but this year it's nearly 80%, throwing 25 touchdowns with only 3 picks. Really accurate. He makes throws in the tight windows. He's mobile enough to move the chains. Nobody thought he was going to be anything other than perhaps like a day 3 pick, but he's now being talked about as a first rounder if enough teams are quarterback hungry. He destroyed Florida this week, and that's the toughest defense he's faced.
Okay, so he's in the list and looking strong. Who else?
Jalen Hurts, who's probably the most exciting quarterback in the nation. He led Alabama to the College Football Playoff Championship game in his 2 years there as a starter, but then he was benched in the 2017 championship game for Tua Tagovailoa, who obviously we'll get onto. And he was a backup there last season, so he transferred to Oklahoma and has been absolutely sensational. So after being a backup there, he's tearing it up for Oklahoma. He's averaging around 300 yards, 3 touchdown passes a game, and a rushing touchdown every game. Played his way into day 1 contention. He wasn't thought to be a day 1 pick, and now people are saying this guy's a first rounder. He's thrilling to watch.
What I love about him is, as you've just said, he lost the gig in Alabama, having done everything asked of him, essentially, and bouncing back in the way he has just demonstrates the character and mental toughness you need. He's a survivor, right?
And he didn't throw his toys out of the pram when he got benched. He helped Tua the whole way. Nick Saban could not speak highly enough of him, and a lot of quarterbacks would have kind of been off in a huff. He worked really hard last season, stepped in when he needed to. He helped them win the SEC championship game, but he obviously wanted to be a starter, and he wasn't going to unseat Tua. Someone who did unseat someone else is Jake Fromm of Georgia, and his first year out of high school, he found himself starting because the Georgia quarterback Jacob Eason got injured in week 1. He wasn't expecting to be thrown into the job. He had to do it, kept the job ever since. Eason's had to transfer out. Fromm's got a great quarterback brain, which makes up for the fact he struggles with a lot of the deeper passes. Didn't play well this week. Georgia took their first loss of the season. He threw his first interceptions of the season. It's taken this long. But in general, he was a guy who will not lose you games. If he gets drafted by a good team with an aging quarterback as kind of like the heir apparent, he could be outstanding. But he's perhaps not the savior of a bad team. He perhaps doesn't have that extra little bit of magic. Justin Herbert would be my number 2. He's like the prototype. He's at Oregon. He's got the height. He's got the arm strength, the accuracy. Like Fromm, he maybe lacks a little bit of that magic that Hurts and Tua have in like kind of the making something out of nothing, but he does everything so well. Very experienced, very mature, very intelligent. And unlike the others on the list, though, he's not facing high-level defenses that frequently, so it can be a little harder to evaluate. The others are all kind of battle-tested, whereas the toughest defense that Herbert faced was Auburn in week 1, and he kind of flunked that one. He wasn't terrible, but he didn't particularly impress. But although people are getting slightly down on Tua, he's still my number 1 because he started at such a high level that if he has a kind of okay game for his standards, people start looking elsewhere. It's like last year, all season, he was the Heisman Trophy front runner. And then Kyler did some amazing things. And we were so used to Tua doing everything that Tua does, we kind of stopped being impressed by it. But why are people getting down on him? I think just because for a start, he doesn't have to win games for Alabama. It's such a kind of well-rounded team. He's got great weapons, especially Jerry Jeudy at wide receiver. So people are saying, okay, well, he doesn't have to do that much.
Right.
But he's been
the old Stafford Megatron problem. Oh, he just throws it up and Megatron catches it. It's more to it than that.
Like it's like we're so used to his heroics that if he has a game where it's like, okay, that was a kind of pedestrian for his standards, it's still way above most others. We're always looking for like the hot new thing. But he's got these weapons. No one can watch him and just say his success is down to his supporting cast. He's got a fantastic arm, calm under pressure. He makes the high pressure passes. Not the tallest, but he's kind of stocky and strong, and he uses that power to avoid sacks. Sometimes some people will be draped over him and he gets away. Now, some people don't like his mechanics, and I can imagine Carlson watching it and not being happy with. He's kind of got this weird kind of hitch in his arm when it kind of comes forward. But you see the results of it. You see how fast the ball comes out, and you see where the ball goes. And it's hard to look at that and think, oh well, it's a problem. But people are going to be nitpicking, and that's not a bad thing, because if you're going to evaluate a quarterback, you don't just do it on like half an hour of YouTube footage. If you're drafting. If you're drafting a guy, if you're a fan ahead of the draft and you want to watch these guys, then yeah, fine. But these people whose job it is to assess them, they're going to look at every single detail. And that slightly weird movement in his arm, it will perhaps give some people pause.
Hope you enjoyed the Nat Coombs Show presented by Paddy Power Fantasy. There's plenty more where that came from. Just click subscribe to ESPN UK and you won't miss a trick.